Hello and welcome on this blustery day to the fourth in our series, Art in Isolation, in which I take you inside. We've all got objects, haven't we, that in the case of a fire or a flood, we'd grab first. This is unquestionably one of them. This little beauty I bought, oh gosh, it must be about 25 years ago at Christie's, South Kensington. And although a few times I may have been tempted to sell it, I have stalwartly resisted, and I am so delighted. Now, to me, this mother and child, this Virgin and Christ child, resonates 1,000 years or more of history. I mean, that Romanesque 9th, 10th, 11th century style, schematized drapery with the knees pushing through. Then the materials, this is gilded bronze, ormolu it's sometimes called, fired metal. That to me suggests something ancient as well, medieval, or possibly a great sort of Chinese piece from thousands of years ago. But then, I don't know whether you can catch this in the light. If you look at the face, all of that sort of earliness disappears. This is almost a pre-Raphaelite face. This is a maiden, something very romantic. And then look at the whole, look as I hold it up. Do you see that sort of squareness, that sort of cuboid quality to it? Almost as if it's been carved, one of the versions of this perhaps been carved out of a piece of wood. It's Art Deco. And the answer to who did it and who I'm talking about today lies here. And I don't know whether the iPhone can capture it, but there you can see Eric Gill. Now, Eric Gill was a fascinating figure. He was controversial. His private life was reprehensible. But like Gauguin, it's his art, who was also reprehensible. It's his art that remains. And it's rather appropriate that we've just been looking at his signature, because it's as a man of letters that I also glorify Eric Gill. Now, this was something I bought, about 5 or 6 years ago in Bonhams. And I get an enormous amount of delight having it over the fireplace. It's the last thing I would have thought of to put here, but it somehow works. You can see, incidentally, bottom right-hand corner, with the initials of Gill, together with the date, 09. Now, this is early 20th century, and it heralds a new age. This is Eric Gill, who started life in an architectural office. He then became an engraver of letters, like this, and this is amongst his first alphabets. And he distinguished himself in finding a sort of beauty and a clarity about lettering, which frankly hadn't been explored with anything like the same conviction before. And rather interestingly, this lettering, this style of lettering, was used by W.H. Smith. They actually used Gill to go out to Paris in the early part of the 20th century to do signage on the front of the shop and in a cafe. But why rejoice in letters? Well, I find each one an absolute delight. What he's able to find, and it's partly based on classical style lettering, Trajan's column, in fact, a plaster cast of which could be found in the Victoria and Albert Museum in the late 19th century. And I think that's something that he was looking at. But if you look at it, there's a sense of sort of space and lucidity around each character. Each one beautifully done, just enough information to tell you what the letter is. And then slightly playful from time to time. Look at almost like the tail of kites, the way that Q is done, or the K. And nothing, to my mind, when you think about the date of this, nothing heralds the new age of modernism. Think of all of that cluttered intricacy in Victorian England that had just, barely passed when this was done. This is a way of saying we're moving forward. This is brand. This is a type of sort of almost minimalism, but a sort of extrapolated elegance and beauty that marks the leaving behind of 19th century aesthetics. There's a lovely quote from Gill. He says, "Lettering is a thing. It's not a picture of a thing." And I think I know what he means by that, particularly looking at this. You know, each letter that you see here makes a sound. And each sound, when put together, makes a word. And words communicate thoughts and ideas. They reach areas of our sensibilities that you couldn't otherwise do. So he has a sort of humility and a reverence to these letters. He's found in an unlikely medium, lettering, he's found something really exquisite, which is why I love living with it. And on the subject of communication generally, could I use this opportunity to introduce, and a few people have been asking, the person behind the camera, the person who's been filming this, and it's my son, Oliver. If you give me the camera, Oliver.
Hi guys, hope isolation's treating you well.
And thank you for all your work.
Thank you very much.
So from us all here, from me, from Oliver behind the camera, and from Cedric the dog, thank you for being with us. Stay well. See you tomorrow.